Hi. I just wanted to take a chance to talk to you guys. We've gotten a lot of questions, especially this past week of are we going to open tomorrow, um, and we're not. Um, I, I and Elise went and researched other people opening, which they are. Gyms are opening. The CDC guidelines. The guidelines are very clear about us not being able to open. We should not open. Gyms should not open. People are doing this just because they want to do it. And, I'm familiar with that. I just listen to people, owners of gyms and things, and their rationalization with why they're opening. And it was very upsetting to me yesterday. And I thought maybe I should talk to our parents and students and make sure we're clear about why we're making the decisions we're making. Um, until we move out of what they call extreme danger down a notch, we're not allowed to open. No one should open. Um, and I am surprised in some ways people are, but on the other hand, I'm 66 years old, and the first half of my life I lived as a professional dancer. The second half of my life I lived as a teacher. So it's given me a lot of insight, I feel like, into just human nature. Like, why do people do things that maybe they shouldn't do? Also, I like to think that with those 66 years came some wisdom. Uh, this is my first pandemic. I've never been through a pandemic before, but I've been through other things that are similar to this experience and watched how people reacted to it and just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Um, I think when I was little, my earliest memories was that everyone smoked. Everyone smoked. All my parents smoked. Everybody's parents smoked. I looked at movies and it looked cool to smoke. But there was a part of me that I think everybody has that has common sense, where it's like, is this really good? Even though everybody's doing it, or people do it because they want to do it, or whatever their rationalizing is behind it, should they be doing it? Even when I went to the National Ballet, and I've talked about this before, in the front of our room, there were 8 or 9 ashtrays. All the staff smoked while we danced. All the dancers smoked. If they weren't dancing, they sat on the floor and they smoked. So there was secondhand smoke and there was all this smoke. Then suddenly people came out and said, smoking is linked to lung cancer and heart disease and coronary issues and things like that. Here's a thing that's sort of the same. People really rebelled against that. People were mad. And then they came out later and they said, well, actually, it's so proven that you can't smoke in this restaurant and you can't smoke in these buildings and you can't smoke here. And people got mad. I remember this. I remember people saying it's my right to smoke. You can't tell me I can't smoke cigarettes. And experts went up to Congress and to Senate, and they talked about how there's no link between lung cancer and cigarette smoking, and it's all fine. And even my mother stopped smoking when she got pregnant with me, and she went to her doctor and said, do you think it's wise that I smoke when I'm pregnant? And he's like, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with smoking. Just don't smoke the cigarette all the way down and limit your cocktails at night to 3. That was her doctor. So the fact that everybody's doing it and everybody says that it's okay or everybody's rationalizing things doesn't move me a lot. It feels like I've been here before. Do you know what I'm saying? About things like this. My reasoning logical mind looks at the fact that there were 115 new cases yesterday. It's not just about living and dying. There's lots of things with this virus that are lingering. Lung damage. Jackie's parents both got it. They both have this thing called corona toes, where their feet are all swollen and their toes are all swollen. They got over it a long, long time ago, and Jackie's father still can't smell or taste anything. In my school, I have responsibility for your well-being and your health. That's my responsibility when you walk through the doors, and that's important to me. If there's a chance that you could get sick, I will do whatever I can to avoid that. Now, we also get blamed for things like teaching technique certain ways, not letting people go on point until they're ready. One of the major reasons for that is to avoid injury, to avoid hurting people. But will it be popular? Could I make more money doing it differently? Absolutely, I could. There's absolutely no doubt about that. If I give classes and tell people you'll be just as good a dancer taking 2 times a week as that person that takes 6 times a week, I will be popular. I've said this many times. If I want to sell a best-selling book, I write a book about lose weight without dieting. This will be a very popular book. It's not true. You have to go on certain diets or things like this, restrict calories, increase your exercise, so on and so forth. I even heard a person who I know who was opening their gym tomorrow talking about how the suicide rate is up and somehow linking the opening of his gym because people are committing suicide because they can't work out. I work out 6 days a week. I haven't been back to the gym since this thing started. I took a bedroom in my house, I painted it, we fixed it up, we threw a few $100s into some gym equipment, and that's where the boys and I work out 6 days a week. I can tell you also this, I've made gains in strength and size since I started doing this. My gym is open 24/7. I don't wipe anything down because nobody touches anything. I know all the members, right? That's what I did. Everything is fine. This idea that somehow people would take their own life because they can't train leg biceps on Thursday is just the rationalization of people trying to make up something that just isn't true. It's not true. And until everybody gets on board and does what they can to slow this down, it's going to pick up. And I'm going to do my part, and I'm not pressured by what other people do. I mean, when I grew up, I was the only boy taking ballet. I've said many times my nose was broken 7 times before I got out of junior high because I took ballet. I fought almost every day. It was not a popular choice on my part. A lot of paths would have had less resistance to them than this. So the idea that somehow I'll be wooed by what other people do is not going to happen. And I think that that's important for everybody to hear, that I'm not seeing anything in my logical reasoning mind that tells me at this point it would be safe to open, or I would. And I'm not going to do it just because I won't get a fine or nobody will enforce it or I want to. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm doing it because that's the right thing to do. And I think there's nothing that says it isn't. And just the same thing as smoking when I was a kid. Everybody in the National Ballet smoked. I didn't smoke. It didn't make sense to me. There's no way this can be good for you as a professional athlete to do this. Now later the world kind of caught up and said, hey, but I remember watching people being escorted out of restaurants, yelling that it was their right to be able to sit at that table and smoke. And it's just like there's so much of this that looks so familiar to me with other things, where people want to do what they want to do and then they rationalize a reason why it's safe and okay. And I listened to them yesterday and it's just rationalizing. It's not okay. It's not okay. And I'm not going to be responsible for that. You know, when kids go away and they get injured, when Ashton sprained his ankle in Boston, first thing I told the director in Boston is it didn't happen on my watch. He didn't sprain his ankle on my watch. Now that's not to mean that no one can sprain their ankle. Sometimes it goes with the territory. But I knew that the shoes he was wearing were incorrect and were putting him at risk, and I would have changed those shoes had I been in power. So I just wanted everybody to hear that from me personally, that no, we're not opening on Monday, and we're not going to open until this thing goes down a notch and it's safe. And I feel like even then there's risk, but it's risk I'm willing to take versus I'm not willing to take it and I'm going to ignore all the facts. And, you know, coming out of the holidays, I'm sure that's why these cases are up, because people didn't do what they're supposed to do during the holidays, and they'll probably escalate even more, and that will slow down our ability to get back in the studio. But until I feel like I can feel safe about all of you, we're not going to open. We'll continue to do Zoom. And will I lose students because of that? Because they go other places? Probably. Probably. Because they're open and they should be. But I'm still not going to do it. It doesn't make any difference to me. I'm not going to do it if it's wrong. There's no amount of money that will make me do something that I believe is morally incorrect. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow on Zoom. Thank you.